suggestions that you can make, share, and Faith, from your own understanding now?
Like we have earlier pontificated, I think it begins with deliberate attempt to understand the situation. So we are still on the awareness stage, because you don't understand that. Somebody will like, that's the way my mom behaves. And the one will like, exactly, I took that from my own mother. And another thing is like, I think that thing is in our family. It runs in our family. You understand what I'm saying? People just assume, because it's an untreated menace. It begins to sound like, say, we are talking about a norm. You get what I'm saying? So it moves that way. So I still believe, apart from it's just a matter of having a problem. We need an external, somebody that is not in that whatever, to be able to assess your situation objectively and give you something worthwhile. What I mean by that is that one of them, once you are aware of that, I think the next thing is that you need a shrink. You understand? And then in our society where we do not have that at large, like it's basically for the elite or the middle class. Okay, you don't have access to that. All right. That's why some people try to like run in that religious angle, because some of our religious leaders, they feel in that gap too. Some of them were like, okay, let's go for counseling. In the process of counseling, they're like, okay, what's the problem? Like this. And what I'm trying to say is that once we are aware of it, I think that's the beginning of the journey in right direction. Just like every untreated diseases in the body, you do not know, or you are aware of it, but it's untreated. Now that you are aware, okay, I have this. Okay, this is the symptoms of what I have. All right. How do we solve it? All right. Then now, like, okay, let me research, let me ask, let me go for help. So whatever I'm saying is that once you have noticed that, the right perspective is to seek help. And you can seek help online. You can seek help via literatures. You can seek help during this group discussion. You understand? You can. And then there's one thing about, one thing I know that is interesting is that once you find yourself in a particular situation and you accept that situation and you seek people that in that kind of a circumstance or situation with, and you guys are talking, you discover that like half of that issue is solved. Because number one, you will know that you are not the only one in that situation. Number two, like your case is not that bad. Not that, oh, okay. Well, I thought
Hello, what happened? Are you still talking?
Mix it. Did you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's just it.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, you're going to hear a sound now. I just want to be sure that what we're saying. Yeah, you can hear it. Okay. Yeah, please. This whole thing is getting untidy, but anyway, we'll do it. So, Faith, do you have anything to offer on that? I said, yeah.
Yes, I heard Mr. Shea very clearly, and he touched on, I think, the need for external healing factors. And I would like to say that healthy relationships are difficult for wounded people. That has to be acknowledged. It's very, very difficult for wounded people, because wounded people are like traumatized. They say as traumatized children, we always dreamed that someone would come and save us. So we never dreamed that it would, in fact, be ourselves as adults that would save ourselves. So this is personalized, and this is as a result of having gone through parental wound as a person, and what I would refer to as self-help techniques that has worked for me. I do not have access to some kind of system where I have access to a shrink. So I've become my own shrink by way of self-help to understand that, okay, I am aware, I'm in tune with myself to understand the level of damage and to see where these have left gaps and to look at likely ways I can close that gap. It's just like being self-censored. It's like the censor is in you to understand that these are the resultant effects of the wounds, and this is how I have to be, this is how I need to close it. So in the meantime, as we know, we do not have access to shrinks, but I also think that we've really jumped gone a lot from this discussion because we need to understand how these parental wounds fester. As a woman, there is just this need for us to look at social context that relates to the traditional patriarchal system that defines gender power, the gender structure. And it starts from the woman surrendering to her husband exclusively, be it conjugally, that's sexual rights and obedience. And we know what the Bible says about obedience. Now, almost obedient, she's almost subservient or totally subservient even to her own will. To a subtle and to a large extent, it is one that devalues the woman. And I would like to say that that is where it starts. So when we talk about damage, it's very, very important for us to understand the level of damage. Some can actually be physical when we talk about gender-based violence, but a lot are emotional. And she lives all through her life with it. So, and then, like what Shea said, I would like to borrow a leaf. With time, we start to normalize certain practices of violence that we never considered harmful to us, be it a woman, be it a man. Because when we're talking about gender, we're referencing both gender, both the man and the woman. So it's very, very important that we look at certain social contexts, social factors that normalizes wounds, normalizes parents letting down certain practices. It's your parent, you have to obey. It's your parent, you have to. And how about me saying no if my parent instructs me to do things that are beyond me or things I shouldn't be doing? So the society never talks about it. And then the culture that we are used to, the culture that we're born into, never question these things. And so it's like a string, and then it leaves this very long trail of abuse that never seems to end. And we live our life through it. And then we begin to normalize it. We start to normalize it. And so I think it's a lot of luxury to now get to an advanced society, to now reflect inwardly to see the damage and now think of, oh, maybe I should have access to a shrink. A lot of people don't even know what that word is, but it's actually going through all manner of wounds netted to them by their parents. You understand?
Yeah.
So self-awareness is key. I think that's just a summary of what I would like to say. Self-awareness is key. We need to get to that point where we introspect and say to ourselves that some of these exhibits that one is exhibiting is not normal. But I think that is where the awareness, that is where healing starts, is to see that I have been wounded. You have to know that you have a soul for you to think of healing. So, but we've normalized parental wounds, as it were. We've normalized it. It's part of us. It's part of our culture. Nobody talks about it. because it's a sacrilege. It's almost a taboo topic. Because either we appreciate it or not, this is a taboo topic. You dare not come out to say that I've been abused by my parents. You dare not talk about it. I mean, you're going to be scapegoated. You're going to be muted.
I think it is. You are on point when you say that, because in fact what really pushed me over the edge to bring this up is when I had a conversation with a lady, may have been in November or so, and she said, this happens, this is so rampant. This is, I can actually even open, she said, this is so normal. This is actually normal. That so many people have gone through this. This is a normal thing in our society. Why is she making a big deal? You know? And I was like, what did you say? And she said, yes. Why are you this? There isn't anything special about it. And this is a lady who, I know her own story. So I looked at her and said to her, you are living that life. The life that you're living is actually because you have normalized abuse and wickedness, you know, and you are now seeing it as a normal thing, because she said so many of us went through that and go through it every day. So it's a normal thing. But the fact that it's a normal thing doesn't make it right. What it actually means is that it has become so broad that we really need to begin to check it now, right?
Yes.
Because that is why every day you're hearing people talking about broken relationships. Why do you think that is happening? People will not have, even if you're going to have broken relationships, they're not going to be toxic. The only reason we have all that toxicity is because people are not mentally balanced, right? And so you have a situation now where somebody who is not mentally balanced is creating mental imbalance in their offspring, who will now grow up with this and now remain mentally unbalanced. And you say, why are you making a big deal about it? It is a big deal. It's a big deal because as a woman or a man, you would not want to watch your child going through this. So, are you both there? So, if you will not want to watch your child going through this, you cannot hang up your boots and say, oh, this is too much because it's everywhere. Let's just now keep quiet. Because bad things happen when good people keep quiet.
Yeah, yeah. But, well, I want to chip in this quickly.
Yeah.
You know, when we're talking about something that has become a norm in the society,
yeah,
and then it's almost like a pattern that, like, okay, we all know this is like a generational pattern or society.
So glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's something that's, you know, I actually emphasized that one needs an external help, you know, external force, external assistance in helping you to self-awareness, and then, I mean, when you're aware there's a problem, then you're like, okay, how do I solve this problem? And the person can help you out, okay, just to figure it out and everything.
Yes.
Now, why I'm saying all this is, I remember when we were in school, and then, you know, religious, I think I've given you a little about my background in German tertiary institution days. You know, I was affiliated to one particular college, and then I observed that mostly usually have this men talks. I mean,
yeah. Oh, he got bounced.
But,
okay.
We talk about the whatever we are experiencing and all that. Mm-hmm. Now, this is my point. I observe that most of us gay are like, this is why my mother, okay, this is what my dad was doing to my mom, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, what is it? This, and they highlighted it, and they were conscious, you know, consciously. I mean, they are number one, they are aware of it. They are consciously avoiding that pitfalls. Okay, these are the errors of our fathers and the errors of our forefathers. They will sit down and we're like, okay, this is what we do. We will be praying about it. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's then Now, another thing that we did is that
Yeah. Hello?
what is it that you don't like about your parents? See, I mean, your family, they will list it out, you will list yours, and they consciously look into it and then pray about it and then walk consciously to avoid all that. Do you get what I'm saying?
I hear you.
And then to all right, if I'm going to use just 2 or 3 people out of that close group, I can tell you that so 2 or 3 of them, yes, I can believe it. There's beauty and starch, you know. And I told her, I said, do you know that this were the things you were complaining way back about your dad, and that you are directly guilty of it. Some will laugh it over, some will just reason like.
Right. So yeah. So it's stunning.
You understand my point?
It's yeah. Okay. It's I was going to add it's stunning that we human beings we're all of different we have different things that motivate us, that push us, that we focus on. I'll go back again to that lady. This is a lady who is also married to somebody who came from a toxic family. Can you hear me? Hear me properly. Hear me completely. This lady is married to somebody who came from a toxic family with toxic upbringing and deep parental issues, right? And yet it is this same person, and even the husband is doing the same thing in their family now. Faith, are you there?
Yeah.
And then you turn around, and this same person is saying these things happen all the time. So this is like what do they call what's that term again? When the person who is kidnapped is what is it called again? Remind me. When the person who is kidnapped is I can't remember. What? No, when it's a syndrome when the person who is kidnapped is not wanting you to even do anything about their kidnapper. The errors of the kidnapper. I can't remember. Anyway,
what did you call it?
If I Google it, I say when the person who is kidnapped is not wanting people to do anything about the errors of the kidnapper. I don't remember what.
The one I know is that when someone is kidnapped and is not ready to leave.
What is it called again? Remind me. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember. Okay, anyway, so now the question I asked was how can a person who has been through this actually have the opportunity of having a normal life? And you talked about an external person, talked about counseling and therapy. Yes, and you talked about prayer. So definitely a person has to have some intervention because some people believe that they're doing well. We can look at ourselves and think that we're doing well, but what I would say is until you get to the point where you can fully love and accept yourself, then you're probably not doing well, even though you think you're doing well. And you will know whether you are loving yourself and accepting yourself fully when you no longer have the worry or need for external validation from other people, because that is one of the things that the wound causes, right? However, it will not be from a point of, I don't care because I have seen that I cannot get it from them, so I'm not even going to bother. It's going to be like you are satisfied that you are doing your best with what you have, and you're no longer seeking to fill that hole, because this is what causes people to stay in relationships where they're being abused again. And this happens to even men, because the last man that I spoke with, was someone saying something? Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Please, I'm sorry to cut it. I'm actually interested in Kate's perspective on the things I highlighted some minutes ago.
Thank you. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Of it. We were conscious of it. We prayed about it. We wrote literature, we read literatures, and then we were determined, okay, to avoid all those pitfalls. You understand where I'm going? What do you think? My question is, what do you think was wrong? And how do you think one can get it right?
Faith.
Sorry. Yes, I'm with you.
Did you miss my question? I just asked you a question, please.
Absolutely. We have a comment here saying the parent needs to accept that there is a problem first. Sorry, let me just read that. Toxic parents will always raise toxic children. I'm telling you, toxic parents will always, there is actually no escape until that child grows up and understands, or there's an intervention. And then another comment also says the parents need to accept that there is a problem first. And you cannot seek help for what you don't see as a problem. You cannot seek help for what you don't see as a problem. Perfect. Because you feel that you're doing okay.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry, Faith, can you respond to what Mr. Shea said?
Well, Mr. Shea, did he ask? I think he asked a question. Did he
Yes.
ask a question, or he just made a point?
Yeah, he said, what would you say to that? What's your response to the things that he said? He said, what do you think can be done? He said we talked about prayers and that what do you think is the problem and what do you think can be done?
No. I corrected premise to the question. Did you get the premise or the premises?
You can repeat it, please.
Please, I would like you to reiterate again, please.
Okay, good. I said while we were in school that set of men we like, okay, we pray about certain things that we have seen as a pattern that we know that is wrong in homes, and we do not want our homes to develop that.
Yes.
So most of us prayed about it, fasted about it, we wrote it down, read about it, but we were deliberate about avoiding those pitfalls. Did you get the drift now?
Yes, I do.
Now, some years down the line, I discovered that the patterns still exist. So those things that you are accusing your fathers of, you are doing just that.
They're repeating the same things. That's what you're saying.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So why is that?
Well, I personally wouldn't think that prayer takes away abuse. I'm not saying that prayer is not productive, but there's a level to which you administer prayer. I would like to say that because there's a role where prayer can suffice. I would like to say without a fear of doubt that abuse is a process. The abuse took a process. And to unprocess the process of abuse that happened. And this is something that didn't happen one-off. It's something that lingered through the years. And owing to that process, it took root in the mind of the person that absorbed it. And so it's not enough to pray it off. You truly cannot pray it off.
Okay.
Because if we want to look into the churches, for instance, or we look into religious settings, you will observe that we have the most wounded people there. The most wounded people are there. And I would like to look at a sense of denial to faith the healing. If I have a broken limb, for instance, it might be very easy for me to faith my healing, but it's very rare to faith emotional scars. So it's a process that has to be, you have to go through the process of having to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I personally do not believe in praying over emotional scars. I don't believe in it because I see it as defeatist. I see it as unproductive, as self-denial. It's a lie.
It's false.
A complete lie because
it's false.
The
Let's just
emotions were bruised.
yeah.
Your emotions were bruised.
And
The damage happened.
all right.
And it's not enough to pray over it without having to physically go through the process of having to undo the wrongs. There is a lot of retribution. There's a lot of restitution. Restitution is needed. Parents can come out to say, okay, first and foremost, I did this. I shouldn't have. But a lot of times parents don't get to that point where they own up because they don't know any better.